We now introduce Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice, Blaxland and Penrith. Can I just ask?
And Glenmore Park.
I was just going to ask you, Rob, how did your Glenmore Park opening go?
Yeah, good. So it's underway. It's all happening. So it's
fantastic.
good to have that.
So that's a mouthful. Well. I've got to remember that now.
I don't know. We'll have to come up with a shortened version, though. But anyway.
Yeah, you might need an acronym.
Yeah, something like that anyway.
Maybe we should just call you Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice in the West.
Just Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice. That'll do. That'll cover it.
Welcome to the conversation, Rob. We are chatting today around, obviously we've got some real talent here in the room with mortgage broker, real estate and a lawyer and advising people on the process and how everybody fits into their little space, which I think this was actually run on your suggestion was be a good idea to nut this out.
I think Catherine and I talked about it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think we came up with it together. Yeah, very good.
So where are we at?
Well, what we were talking about with Karen was the fact, what an agent does and some terminology, and really around that 5 days. So, Rob, in your experience, from the time when people sign maybe with an agent, what are some of the important things from your point of view that they need to get underway at that point?
Well, it's probably better if we've got it underway before then. That really helps. So ideally, if we already had a pre-approval in the system, it makes it a bit simpler if all we've got to do is just get a valuation on the property and send through the valuation and the contract. That often isn't the case. I'm sure, like Peter, will get calls on weekends. We found a property. What do we do now? Our offer's been accepted, and suddenly we're starting from scratch. So, look, it is important for the person buying the property to get into the to get in touch with the broker ASAP, so we can let them know what we need from them and get a loan into the system. The thing is, it's really, even 5-day cooling off is really tight from a lending perspective because we're subject to lender turnaround times. And if they've got a special, and every customer obviously wants the special rate that the lender's offering, if there's a special on offer from a lender, then you get this really slow queue, and it might actually be 2 weeks before they pick up the file. So it is very frustrating at times, and 5 days can be very tight.
5-day cooling off period that Karen wants.
That's right, and it's it depends. I mean, there's some lenders they'll turn around a day. I'm supposed to get with a few lenders 4 hours. I never get 4 hours. But some of them, it might be 2 weeks sitting in a queue, even 3 weeks before they actually pick up the file. And it's very frustrating.
Karen's making faces at that point.
Karen's not at all happy with that. Find another lender,
neither are we. Well, that's right. But at the end of the day, we would say to the client, look, it is at the moment the turnaround time's 2 weeks. This is going to be a bit of a challenge. It's that they need to tell us what they want.
Yeah. And particularly if you, I guess, have a lender that's delayed like that, and then you've had an assessor that hasn't really looked over the file properly and doesn't ring to
so
discuss.
It might be, I had one last week, and we've been talking to these clients for some time, probably for a few months, wanting to do the pre-approval, and they're just delaying. Then they find a property. So we got everything in mad rush. It's in 5-day turnaround until the file was picked up by the lender, and they asked for a couple of extra things that were actually in there anyway. 5 minutes, I sent it all back. It goes into another queue, and it was probably 4 days after that again until it was approved. And there was a cooling off period ticking away there that had to be extended. And it is frustrating because of those queues of lenders and trying to manage that. And what we try to do is keep everyone in the loop, talk to the solicitor, talk to the agent, because it seems to me that it's silence that creates the stress, because the agent wonders what's going on, the vendor knows what's going on, and if at least I tell the agent, well, the agent talks to the vendor and says, look, there's just a long wait with this particular lender. It's not that they're having trouble getting finance, it's just that there's this queue, and if everyone knows what's going on, it probably manages some of that stress.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's everybody being in the loop and being familiar with the process right from the word go, flagging it with your vendor that there could be an extension. We're going to give them 5 days, but there could be an extension because, as you say, it's out of our hands. It's out of all our hands by that point.
You mentioned earlier in the break that you waited, a week and a half just for
a pest and building. But, I mean, personally, I would be recommending to the purchaser that they change pest and building company. Really. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yes.
But and I actually say to my purchasers when we're going down that first step of accepting an offer, if you're moving forward and you're communicating, it's when you go quiet.
Yeah.
When they go quiet, that's when you get nervous. If everybody's transparent and everybody knows what's going on, then there's a sort of air of confidence. But when that changes, and at the end of the day, as an agent, you've got to do the best thing by your vendor, and I will always continue to show a property until it's exchanged.
Because do you think that, this is probably a question for you, Rob, do you think we're almost the first cab off the rank, so the education part around the process really should come from us? Or it's not really that way, it's kind of like they just find a house first and then they see...
I think it's important to see the broker first.
Yeah.
Because then we can pre-qualify at the very least. I mean, it's crazy going in there and putting an offer in on a property before you've had a conversation about whether you're going to be able to get a loan.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Now, whether people actually want to put in that application, that loan application now, at the very least they need to be pre-qualified, and then we can at least talk through the process. And in some cases too, the stress is it's not even like a lot of people buying in the city. There usually is no cooling off period. It's usually exchanged under auction conditions. So they have their offer accepted, and the agent's still showing other people the property, and it's first to exchange that gets the property. And that's very stressful, that one, for all concerned. Yeah, I don't like it at all.
No.
But that happens pretty much with all properties in the city.
Yeah, I think that's really unethical myself. I know it happens, but
it's nice to hear you say that, because I don't like it.
I think you have to give
I just
people,
don't like it at all.
If you accept an offer, and again, I'm really tough on my vendors with it. If they accept an offer, I think they should be expected to give that person the opportunity to exchange, and trust their agent enough to guide them, because I'll be the first to pull the pin if I think someone's mucking around and just sort of putting offers in all over the place. It's just not the thing to do. But Rob, if someone's pre-approved, do you actually think that really saves time in the process? Because I find that it doesn't really.
It can. It can and it may not. Okay, and the reason for that is and it depends if the lender actually does a full assessment or not. So some lenders, the pre-approval is really just there's no point, because it's just electronic, and I've done that anyhow. Okay, I've already pre-qualified, but when they've done a full assessment, it might be that the good thing is there's outstanding documents that they might ask for that are already collected. A classic example, one of our lenders is Newcastle Permanent. I call them the document Nazis. They have very good rates, but they ask for everything, and they're really, really fussy. But their pre-approvals are very, very thorough. So, pre-approval went in, and there was a bunch of things that came back, including they wanted to see the statement for a corporate credit card for this client, and they were indignant about that. It's a corporate card. But anyway, we got the card, sent it in, and all those things are there. They don't ask for that again. So when it comes to, they found the property, all we had to send in was the contract. Nothing but the contract. So all those other bits and pieces that can create all sorts of delays that drags the assessment process out for a couple of weeks are dealt with. So that kind of lender is one where you really do want to have a pre-approval.
Because I find, obviously if I know someone's interested in a property, I'll say, have you got your finance sorted, or where are you at in the process? And they go, yeah, all the finance is approved. And I mean, of course, I know it's not, because the finance has to be linked to the property.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, time and time again, they go, yeah, that's all sorted. And then when they do have an offer accepted, you realise that they haven't started the process at all.
Yep.
But they believe they have.
I was going to ask you that, Karen, like maybe that's where, and in particular, I think one of our major pillar banks are very big with pre-qualifying over the phone and giving the perception that they've been approved, and in fact, they're not.
And maybe
even.
that's the difference, is pre-qualifying versus pre-approval.
And I think that
two different things.
Pre-approval can mean different things. I think at the very least, people need to be pre-qualified. Yeah, they need to be pre-qualified. Yeah. And sometimes, it may be, depending on the property, it might depend which lender we actually go through, so we don't put in an application.
And then even at pre-qualification, we've had one of the brokers in my teams had, was the third lodgement this week. And from her perspective, I said, you got one more crack at this. But it was the property that was the issue.
Yeah, yep.
And, we had to get another bank's valuation to get completed. And
Yep.
then it still referenced the same issues, but not as much in a negative light as the first one. So that sort of made it...
Well, yeah, because also what I find is people's not realising that even once they're... they've exchanged, and yes, they've come and seen their mortgage, that there's then documents to sign.
Yeah.
So many of mine keep going on holidays.
Yeah.
That's interesting, Catherine, because I think we've almost got a little joke in our office. It's like they sign the loan application documents. The next question should be, and when are you going overseas? Because I think we got about 50% of the time they're going overseas. Oh, by the way, and we're going overseas in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah,
So
and I
it's,
said, no, you need to actually,
Yeah.
at that point, either
can't
give me
you
a
just
power of
email them to
attorney.
me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, people misjudge that you still need what we call wet signatures on quite a lot. Like, if you're purchasing, I can do the transfer, but I can't sign your loan documents for you.
And then on the flip side of that, I've got one at the moment that doesn't understand that then they've got to be certified at the back end. That also takes time because it's not that they're, if you've ever seen a mortgage pack, they're actually, there's quite a lot. There's a lot to go through.
Yep.
Often signatures can get missed or paperwork doesn't turn up or the lender says that they're missing a document, however that happens.
But
That's
also
nightmare
with
too, isn't it?
guarantors, like
Absolutely.
if they've got to go and get independent legal
Yep.
advice, so that's another lot of cost as well, and time. And people are saying, I need to get independent legal advice. When's it settling? Oh, tomorrow. I said, well, I can't do it today. Like you needed to book an appointment a week ago. I just
And I guess Rob, I suppose that really, if people were to take some advice away, it would be see your broker first, because your broker would most definitely have all that stuff
we'd
covered, wouldn't we?
Normally talk about the process and that sort of thing. Not that everyone remembers that, but at least we've flagged that this is how it's going to be, so they're not going in totally blind.
Yeah.
But sometimes we're given impossible tasks.
Yeah.
From some of the clients. It's just crazy. You submit one of those the other day, and submitted the loan this time last week, and it's supposed to settle next Friday or something like that. Fridays.
I've got one who hasn't
Absolutely
put through their
impossible.
finance yet, and it settles on the 15th.
It's just
And we're sort of saying, and there's only so much advice you can give people.
Yep.
We keep saying you need to get this in like now, but obviously we can't give financial advice. Their brokers telling them to sign and get it in, and they're still shopping around to see if they can get a better deal.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't come down to the better deal. It's actually more about turnaround times.
Yeah.
Because some of the ones that have really good deals, you might be waiting weeks before you get an
like
approval.
you said before, you got to give your firstborn.
Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But it's kind of, cheapest is not always best. What you want is an overall competitive lender that you can partner with into the future. That's what I think. Because it's, I've been known to say this many times in appointments. I can find you one that's got 0% or interest-free. They often ask for interest-free when they mean actually interest only. But I said, look,
I'll have a bit of interest-free, please.
even if I could find you interest-free, but if you don't fit their profile, they're not going to approve you. So it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It really doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yep.
And the important thing to remember, I think, with a broker is that their job is to really build a relationship with you for the long term. So they're going to find you something that's competitive, but they're not there to just give you the cheapest rate. You've got Google for that, if that's what
And
you
also,
want.
your part of the conveyance is the finance. Like, quite often I get clients saying to me, where's my deposit coming from? Well, hang on a minute. You need to go and talk to your broker about where they thought your deposit was coming from, because it's not coming from me.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's and that's what we would do. Go through the numbers. I think, as you were saying earlier, Peter, sometimes there isn't any cash because they're using equity or whatever, and that's when a deposit bond might be used to exchange. That sort of thing. The other thing that I think is, I don't know if you've touched on this before in terms of a lot of people get confused about this, is we're almost finishing anyway, aren't we?
That's all right.
Is when you exchange with the cooling off period. As I understand that's correct to call that a conditional exchange of contracts subject to a cooling off period. That's the right terminology, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
So they actually do exchange contracts, but it's subject to that
And that's
expiry of the cooling off
it's
period.
subject to something occurring. So we call that a condition.
Conditional exchange of contracts, which secures the property. It means you can't be gazumped.
That's correct. During that time, you can't be. But what people don't understand is whatever they pay. So whether I think 0.25%,
Yep.
you don't get that back
Yep.
If you
Yep.
pull out.
That's right.
if you pull out. So there's no good running
Even on a
around.
shoddy pest and building.
Yep.
You
Yep.
pull
Yep.
out.
You pull out, you've lost it.
You've lost your.
And
Yep.
not only that, you're still going to have some conveyancing fees because who's ever doing your conveyance would have organised or somebody's organised pest and building.
Yep.
Somebody
Title
has
searches.
gone through the contract. There may have been special conditions. So work is actually happening during that time that people don't seem,
Yeah.
loan
Well,
documents
that's
go
right.
in, and then it all gets pulled.
And it does happen from time to time for all kinds of reasons because it's an unfavourable building or pest report.
I think my most bizarre
whatever.
was the fact she was pregnant and had the baby the next week. And I said, well, you know what, I'm pretty sure that was on the cards. You've got 9 months for that. It's not something that just pops out. So she couldn't put her mind. So they lost their 0.25%. And that's why I say to people, you don't get that back. At that point, you are committed to that product, to that purchase.
So again, I think to your point, Rob, it really reiterates, start with your broker, have a good
Definitely.
conversation. You're right, you'll talk them through the process.
Yep,
They won't, take everything on board, but you'll be able
A
to
bit of a
coach
sense
them
that
through.
there's a bunch of things that have to happen
Yeah.
before this can actually settle, and it's going to take more than just a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can we have
42
14 days?
for a reason, aren't they?
But yeah, I do think also the other thing is that, even by going and seeing a mortgage, because I say to people, have you got your finances sorted? Yep. But they actually haven't seen anybody. They might have done an online calculator and fudged it or whatever. And I go to them, no, that's not having your finances sorted.
Yeah, so that's important to drill down. And have you lodged an application yet? It's an important question. And that may be okay if we've had, because there's some clients, I've had a conversation in a good position and it's kind of like, that's fine. This all looks good. We'll make it happen. May not be lodged, but it has been pre-qualified. We've looked at documents. We
And
are
that's
going to be able to get a
the
loan.
important thing, because unless you're in that industry, you don't know what, as we keep saying, what you don't know.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
And now you know an awful lot more about conveyancing.
That's right. Now you can confidently go out there and get some advice around finance and know all the lingo to talk to your real estate agent. So when you be well informed when you end up in your conveyancer's office.
That's what we want.
That's what you need.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rob, for coming in and chatting with us about that. So you'll be here. Can you make it next week for our last show
Yeah,
for the year?
yeah, sure.
Christmas show.
Yep.
Look forward to that. We'll have a wear your best Christmas hat.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, we might stream it.
Yeah,
Oh,
why
well.
not?
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll see. Catherine,
We'll do a live
We've
stream.
got the digital age woman here with us. She
Okay,
knows all
well,
that stuff. That could be fun.
Yeah.
Good job. All right, awesome. So we will see you on Thursday
Monday.
at our Christmas
Yep.
party. And anyone else, like I said, again, Thursday is the Christmas party at the Powerhouse. Please jump online and book in if you haven't already. We look forward to seeing you. But Rob, just quickly, so you have got the new shop open in Glenmore
Yep,
Park
that's right.
as
Yep.
another avenue for your customers.
Yes, that's
So they
right.
can find you at Blaxland, Penrith, or
And the new Glenmore Park Shopping Centre.
the shopping centre as a whole's open.
Yeah, the new
I'll
one
have to come
there.
down and have a
So
stick
yeah.
Looks
No,
pretty
it's-
good on Facebook, what I saw. So congratulations.
Yeah, no, look, just another avenue for us, and the staff embraced it as well. So it's been a lot of fun down there.
Good
It's
on.
actually quite social down there, really.
Yeah.
Just all about
In the
conversations. Yeah, no, it's good. Very good. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, Rob, awesome. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. to the show, and we look forward to chatting with you again next week.